State Circle is made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities and is made possible by the generous support of our members. Thank you.
Connecting Marylanders to their government. This is State Circle.
Good evening. Welcome to State Circle. Coming up tonight, while your local community college is gearing up for more students, and we will conclude our interviews with the candidates for mayor of Baltimore. But first, the latest pandemic headlines. With coronavirus data improving, Governor Hogan is authorizing more outdoor activities, including dining and swimming.
While we are moving to safely reopen our economy and put more people back to work, we want to continue to strongly stress the need to follow CDC guidelines. The fight against this virus is by no means over. We must all continue to remain vigilant, particularly as we begin to come into contact with more people. Lower risk does not mean no risk, and safer does not mean completely safe. Just because you can do something does not mean that you should.
The governor has extended the emergency order prohibiting utility companies from shutting off service through July 1st. The state's death toll from the disease stands at 2,348. That's up by 256 this week, which is an improvement over recent weeks. And a statewide Gonzalez poll found broad support for the state's response, 63% saying restrictions have been about right. Support was strongest in areas of central Maryland that have been the hardest hit.
Excuse me, I have like 6 weeks ago and have not had a response from your office. Your office says, emails me and says they're...
County executives in those areas also moving to loosen restrictions this week, though a news conference by the Montgomery County executive was disrupted by a small but vocal group protesting the pace of normalization there.
I want to open up as much as everybody else does. I do not understand why people think I don't understand why anybody thinks anybody wants to lock down. There is nothing in locking down that makes anybody happy.
Over the last 2 weeks, we've taken incremental steps toward reopening. We've also made considerable progress in standing up the infrastructure necessary to battle this virus. We have significantly increased access to testing. Any county resident can now receive a test without a doctor's order. And our positivity rate is now at 11.7%, which is lower than the state, and an important indicator which we will continue to watch closely.
We are doing everything in our power to stop the spread of this virus in our community. We're doing everything in our power to keep all of you safe. And because of your discipline and because of some of the decisions we were able to make, I believe that starting June 1st, our county is now prepared to take the first step forward.
Joining us for the political roundtable this week, Delegate Neil Parrott, a Republican from Washington County, and Delegate Jazz Lewis, Democrat from Prince George's County. Thanks to both of you for being with us. Let's start with the pace of reopenings after the coronavirus shutdown. Delegate Parrott, you're one of several Republicans who sued Governor Hogan, also a Republican, I believe, on this subject. What was that case about?
Well, first, I don't think this issue really is Republican-Democrat necessarily. I think it's really control versus non-control coming from the government. And the lawsuit really is about, did Governor Hogan have the authority to, for instance, close down churches, to force us to wear masks? We contend that really should have gone through the Maryland State Legislature. Like, that's making law to force people to wear masks. That's not something that the executive department is allowed to do. And certainly closing churches violates the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. When you look at the Maryland Constitution, which I'll grab over here, there's the beginning part, which is the Declaration of Rights. And one of these declarations is Article 44. It says that the provisions of the Constitution and the state shall apply in the time of war and in peace, and any departure therefore, even if they say it's necessary or inevitably, is subversive of good government and tends to anarchy and despotism. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing right now laws that just seem to be arbitrary and capricious that are coming forward. I know they're with the name of helping people, but it's actually hurting a lot of people. Just look at the unemployment rates, look at the amount of money that we're losing, and look at the amount of deaths that we've had in the nursing homes. Over half of them in Maryland, that's where they're coming from.
Let me ask Elliot Lewis about this, because you were quoted in the newspaper this week, also critical of the governor's decision making. What's your perspective?
Yeah, so I actually I'm completely fine with the asking of citizens to wear masks. I think we aren't telling them they can't live their lives. Okay, it's instruction to live life safely. My concern is more focused on transparency in the process. I think the quintessential thing that government has to do with the public is inform them what you intend to do, keep your word as you execute that, and move forward. I was really upset that earlier this week on Wednesday, I went to one of the testing facilities that the state runs, not the county, in my district, and people were being turned away. The governor then later announced that the testing facility had moved from Hyattsville to Six Flags, without any communication with the county, without any communication with the state legislature. And here's the reason. For those who aren't familiar with Prince George's County, the location, the vehicle emissions location in Hyattsville is right off the Beltway. It is right next to public transportation, both metro as well as bus, whereas Six Flags is not. So we were kind of like, why are we moving this here? You ran out of tests at this location. When were you going to tell people you ran out of tests? Because we're counting on you as our leader. I've left of an issue with asking us to have masks. I think many of us in our religious community in Prince George's County, our religious community is the backbone of philanthropy, the backbone of how we fellowship with one another. We've adapted to worshiping online, and in different vehicles. And at least on our side, they embrace that. But I think the least you can do is communicate up-to-date information with the folks. And
hey, gentlemen, let me ask this. Your communities have very different situations. Prince George's County leads the state in coronavirus cases. Washington County, much more rural. What should be the situation in your community right now in terms of how open or closed it should be?
Look at Garrett County. They've only had 8 cases this whole time. That's cases. I mean, why are they closed at all? They shouldn't be. And it's interesting. We get back to whether he has the authority or not, but even if he does have the authority, why are we closing and telling people they have to stay in and calling some businesses essential and some non-essential? I believe all businesses are essential. 10% of all Marylanders right now have filed for unemployment. I mean, 10%, that's huge. And that includes kids. It's not acceptable what's happening. We're shutting down our whole economy, and we're hurting people much more drastically than if we had actually taken no action at all, unfortunately.
We're really concerned about our economy and getting folks back to work. I had a Zoom conference with a number of the barbers and salonists in my district. Clearly, I need to get a haircut. And they're struggling right now. They're struggling right now. And they were talking to me about making home calls and the like. And I was stressing to them, I was like, no, this is when government needs to work and do its essential functions of taking care of people, right? So there's nothing wrong with our economy. We paused our economy because of a public health epidemic we have. When we are able to turn the corner on this, we should be able to rapidly scale things up. But if this is a public health epidemic first, then that means we need to not rush through things and we need to follow the experts.
Our thanks to Delegates Parrott and Lewis. And now our Sue Copen looks at efforts to deal with the economic impact on small businesses.
All over Annapolis, businesses have been forced to deal with the impact of the COVID-19 shutdown. Ryan Lamy did close up shop the month of April, but managed to reopen the first weekend in May.
Our business is 90% carry out anyways, so we're kind of built for this.
But Lamy says it's a different story for many other businesses in the capital city.
Like we had Biddy and Bowes right down the street here. I know they put a ton into getting that place open, and then, this happens, right behind their opening. So I feel for them. They're reopened. So I hope they can recover.
Blackwall Hitch, a restaurant in Eastport, was not among those businesses able to provide delivery service or carry-out, leaving employees like Jose Dueñas out of work for weeks and without a safety net.
Like, there's a lot of us, we just go paycheck to paycheck, right? So it's bills that just keep coming. So it hasn't been easy, and unemployment it's been almost impossible.
And that's where a new initiative, Annapolis Gives, is trying to help make a difference.
We came up with this idea to be able to create a tipping platform specifically to help some of the people in the service industry that were either displaced or lost their jobs once the COVID-19 situation hit.
It's called Tip It Forward, and the money goes straight to the worker.
An individual may be at home making a drink, making a meal, and want to be able to tip a wait staff that don't have a job right now, don't have a paycheck. It'll randomize it, and then you can actually make that tip or make that donation, as we would say, direct to that person.
Tip It Forward is just one part of Annapolis Gives, a joint project involving Nortel's marketing company, a local comic shop, and Eye on Annapolis, an online source of information about the Annapolis area. The goal, to try to make a difference in a time of need.
As a business myself, we understand that local community is extremely important. We're blessed to have that community, and that's why we do programs such as this to be able to give back to that community when it's in need.
Jose Dueñas is among those who've benefited from Tip It Forward.
And it's funny because just yesterday someone actually did, donated something to my name. So that was really nice. I really appreciate that.
Even with restaurants being allowed to open up with outside service, many agree the challenges will remain for some time to come. But Sean Nortel says Annapolis Gives is in it to stay.
We will do this initiative as long as there's a need.
In Annapolis, Sue Copen for MPT News.
And State Circle continues right after this. With the downturn in the economy, funding for nonprofits is more critical than ever. Our Nancy Amata looks at how one group is making every donated dollar go further.
Everybody wants to do good, but they don't know how.
That's precisely what led Eric Verdi to start a Frederick chapter of Impact Club, an organization made up of passionate people who want to give but want their money to stay local and make an impact. Each quarter, every member commits to donating $100.
And you combine the funds with the other members, and however many members are at the time, that's how much money you donate. Now, the beautiful thing of Impact Club is all 100% of your $100 goes directly to that charity.
As Impact Club grows, the checks keep getting bigger. 3.5 years later, they are now over 300 members strong. They collectively decide where their funds should go after hearing 3 nonprofits drawn at random make their best pitch.
They get 5 minutes in a microphone to tell their story to our membership. Then the members vote, and the charity with the most votes that quarter gets that quarter's donation.
It's that simple.
That simple. It's really who pulls at your heartstrings the most that night, and where you think you want your money to go.
Because of the pandemic, this quarter the group couldn't gather together. Instead, they held their meeting online via Zoom. The only hiccup was there's a 100-person limit, so some people had to listen in and then call in their vote.
It brought so much joy to my heart. I was overwhelmed, humbled, surprised.
Tanya Haddisy Steer of Woman to Woman Mentoring is the newest recipient of Impact Club Frederick's generous donation, a check for $29,100.
We do 36 life skill workshops every year to help young women, help women in our community move forward and financial literacy, healthy relationships, identifying their strengths. And you think about the process it takes to raise the money that we raise, and that's done in 5 minutes. It is glorious and beautiful and wonderful, and I wish we had more things like that in our community.
With funding so critical for nonprofits, Verdi hopes more people in more communities will see that there is strength in numbers.
That $100, it really does go a long way. It is a sacrifice to them, it's a sacrifice to each family that gives up that money, but it really does help others.
I'm Nancy Yamada for State Circle.
Some community college students could be back on campus this summer. We caught up with CCBC President Sandra Curtinitis.
What's happening right now on our campuses is really almost a total conversion into a site that is truly able to bring a limited number of people back on campus. And by that I mean all of the work that's being done to ensure that social distancing will be the norm, all that is being done to set up structures whereby we can every day get answers to the CDC questions, make sure people don't have a fever, make sure everybody has a mask, and doing the cleaning protocols. We've got everything that's pretty much needed to be able to welcome students back on the 22nd. A small number of students. Those classes, by the way, are the ones that require hands-on engagement. Hard to learn how to fix a car if you don't have hands-on access. Hard to do lab work from afar. Hard to do the healthcare training and so forth that needs to be done. But the only way it can be done on site is if we can guarantee safety for students, faculty, and staff. And we are about that task as we speak.
The online courses that you've been doing for the non-hands-on subjects, how's that gone from your perspective?
Our faculty and staff did an amazing job on March 30. I mean, we actually ceased having on-site classes and on-site engagement of any kind on March 16. And by March 30, our faculty and staff had completely converted 3,000 in-seat classes into online or remote delivery. We also actually had an incredible job that was done by our enrollment folks, our finance people, our administrative people, everybody delivering services remotely. So we've finished our semester, and this is what we've learned. There must be about a third of our students who simply do not have either the support or the technology or the learning style to be able to study remotely or online. And so this is why we are very carefully working to be able to bring some students back in very carefully constructed environments, as I said, to be able to do in-seat instruction. Now, we have a very carefully devised reopening plan. It is completely in sync with the instructions from the governor and from our county executive. And everything we are doing here is slow, gradual, purposeful, and all aimed at ensuring safety for faculty, staff, and students.
Let me ask about the third of students who have trouble with the online education. What would help them? What would make it more successful?
Not everyone has the technology, first of all. Not everyone has internet. So the conversations that went on very quickly and how appreciative we were of our local internet providers making 3 months of internet available. That's a big piece, having the technology. So we purchased laptops to give to students so that they could study remotely. But there's way more than that, and it's a pedagogical issue with learning styles. Don't know about you, but I'm a pretty visual learner, so it could work for me, but not everyone can handle that style. And not all the telephone conversations or Zoom calls in the world are going to change that.
You know, of course, having been through a few economic cycles, when the economy gets bad, community colleges get busy. People are looking for skills, for education, to set themselves up to get hired and succeed. What do you anticipate down the road? And I know you're doing some training for people who will be doing contact tracing in cases where people have caught this coronavirus.
Mhm. When the county executive announced via his press conference that he wanted to hire 60 contact trace investigators, he invited me to participate in that press conference. And when it was my turn, I spoke briefly about what the training was and said, before the day is over, we will have a link on our website that will actually be the way that you can apply for the training. Within 48 hours, we had 1,600 responses to that one possibility of training for 60 positions. That said a lot to us. And we are here with over 200 different kinds of short-term certificate programs and with easily over 100 different degree options. We're going to be here for our communities, just as we've always been whenever there has been a downturn.
Dr. Curtin, it's delightful to talk to you as always. Thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you.
Continuing our interviews with the candidates for mayor of Baltimore, here's MPT's Charles Robinson.
Mayor Young, let's begin with, let's talk about why you're running for mayor.
Well, I'm running for mayor because I don't see anyone better suited to be mayor other than me. I became mayor at a time of unexpectancy. Our mayor had to step down because of being indicted, and I became mayor. Started off with the ransomware attack that I had to work around. I put together a great team of bright people that were able to help me navigate that, and we kept the city running, kept the city moving. And then got hit with this pandemic called coronavirus, and have shown in both cases what a real leader is all about, getting things done while also making sure that city services are being delivered. So I don't think no one better to be mayor than me. I go to sleep every night and wake up every morning trying to figure out what I can do to make this city a cleaner and safer city for all of Baltimoreans, not just a certain section, but all of Baltimore. Oftentimes people talk about two Baltimores. I see one Baltimore, and as mayor, I'm going to do the things to bring one Baltimore into play.
This has been probably one of the most challenging times for campaigning. You're not allowed to do a lot of large events. Tell me how you're dealing with that.
Well, to be honest with you, I have not been doing any campaigning. Like I said to you earlier, I'm running the city, and I really don't have time to be doing all of these interviews and all these other things, because I'm trying to save lives in the city of Baltimore and making sure that people get fed, making sure the resources are in place, like our streets, picking up trash, doing recycling, filling potholes, and doing all those things to keep the city functioning. Other candidates don't have to worry about all of that. I do. I have to be able to keep everything in my mind as relates to running the city and what I'm going to respond to politically. My whole take on this is I'm trying to save jobs. Politics and the election will fall in place. And hopefully the people will see that I've been a leader, not only during ransomware, but during this pandemic. And I'm doing all the things that I should be doing as mayor.
I know you weren't necessarily surprised, but I think the public has been surprised at the number of individuals who believe they could be the mayor of this city. And you now know intimately what it takes to be mayor. What does that say about those individuals who are literally challenging your ability to lead the city?
Well, they have a right to do that. But if you listen to everything that each one of the candidates are saying they want to do, I'm already doing it. And I'll leave it at that. Everything they're talking about, you can go and fact check it yourself. I'm doing it. So I don't know what they're going to do differently than what I'm already doing.
Let's end on this. Obviously, if you're successful in the primary and you move on to the general, you're going to come into office and you're going to have a lot of capital. What are one or two things that you think you can accomplish very quickly to move this city forward?
Well, you know, I've already put together a COVID-19 small business task force to make sure that we can stand up our small businesses, because they're the ones who actually hire local people. I'm doing all the right things, working with our federal partners to get federal funding into the city of Baltimore. I was one of the first elected leaders to call on the president to treat cities and counties like they treat corporations. They bail out corporations, but don't want to bail out cities. So I've been hopping on that every chance I get. And our federal officials are working to see if we can get some funding because we lost a lot of general funding money because of Corona. You know, conventions was canceled, people vacations was canceled, and we depend heavily on tourism and property tax. Our restaurants are not being, you know, full with people buying food and buying drinks that pay taxes. So we need federal help, and I'm pushing through our federal delegation to do just that.
Mayor Young, thank you very much for being here on Maryland Public Television.
Thank you too, and I'm a big supporter of Maryland Public TV.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
All right, take care.
Charles, thank you. And with a reminder that Election Day is Tuesday, you can see all of our candidate interviews by visiting mpt.org/State Circle. And you can see our reporters' work during this crisis by visiting YouTube and searching MPT News. Now for Charles Robinson, Sue Copen, Nancy Yamada, and all of us at MPT, I'm Jeff Salkin. Thanks for watching State Circle, and have a good night.
This program was made by MPT to serve all of our diverse communities.
Programs on MPT are made possible by our members and the following.
What's your next move? Make inroads into the education field or advance your current teaching career through UMBC's professional master's programs and certificates in education, instructional systems development, college teaching and learning science, and TESOL. UMBC students gain their skills through rigorous coursework paired with real-world experience at local K-12 public schools. Our community is committed to seeing our graduates grow and build connections through teacher-led professional networks. Claim your future at UMBC.
Discover an active, vibrant, connected community full of inquisitive individuals who've been learning all their life and have no plans on stopping now. Roland Park Place, metropolitan senior living in the heart of northern Baltimore City, featuring the grand expansion opening summer 2021. Learn more at 410-261-4646 or visit rolandparkplace.org.
Can you all live the ultimate retirement? You can.
Acclaimed personal finance expert Susie Orman provides essential advice to make your retirement more successful and secure.
Every little action that you take can make a tremendous difference. It's never too soon to begin.